Unlock your best life. The power of less with essentialism. Do you often feel busy but not productive? Like you're doing many things but not the right things? What if I told you that the secret to a better life is to do less? Welcome to English Journey, where we help you grow personally while mastering English. I'm Celine, and I'm so glad you're here. We release new videos every day to help English learners like you improve your skills, learn important life lessons, and build a better future. First, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us make more great content for you. Stay until the end for key takeaways and a fun, short quiz to test your understanding. Essentialism. Focus on what truly matters. Today, we're talking about a powerful book called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. This book teaches us how to find what is truly important in our lives and how to focus only on those things. It's about doing less but better. Many people today feel like they must fill every moment and do everything possible to expand their horizons and improve their lives. In this age of abundance, we feel like we need to have and do it all. However, this idea is not true. We cannot do everything. We can't be an expert in every field, have every toy, or have every possible experience. Also, having or doing everything will not necessarily make us happier. In fact, we might find our closets cluttered with junk we never use, and our schedules filled with tasks we can't complete. At least, not well. Instead, we should be focusing on what we should do, thinking about what is essential to our happiness and well-being. Essentialism helps us decide what is essential for our happiness and well-being. It helps us learn how to identify these important things and remove everything else, thus giving us the mental and emotional strength to perform those most vital tasks to the highest standards possible. The main idea of essentialism is this. In spite of how it might seem, only a few things are actually vital to our goals and well-being, and everything else is unimportant. By focusing on these few essential things and learning to do better by doing less, we can craft a life that is far more productive and fulfilling. Core ideas of essentialism. There are two main ideas at the heart of essentialism. Saying yes means saying no. For every single thing that you say yes to, that means you're going to have to say no to a bunch of other things. So, it's important to put a lot of value in your yes, and also not be afraid to say no. Not all effort is equal. Not all effort is created equal. There are certain types of effort that yield more results than others. So what you're on the lookout for are the best places to put your effort, the best yes, the tasks and projects that you can take on that will yield the greatest results. The book is divided into 3 main parts: explore, eliminate, and execute. Let's learn about each part. Part 1. Explore. Finding what's essential. In the explore part, you learn to find out what is truly important. 1. Escape. Create space to think. Nowadays, hardly anyone has time to be bored. Modern technologies like our smartphones mean that we have access to a wealth of communication and entertainment. Since no one actually likes being bored, this sounds like a great thing. However, boredom can actually be good for you. A period of time in which you have nothing to do can give you an opportunity to think clearly about what needs to be done. You need to make time every day to escape, to think. Creating a space in your schedule just to think about your life, what options, problems, or challenges you face, will help you assess which are vital and which aren't. Great thinkers like Newton and Einstein used this method. Both confined themselves in solitude to escape, allowing themselves time to think about their groundbreaking theories. Many of today's most successful CEOs do the same, scheduling a few hours of blank space in their calendar every day in order to do some thinking. Escaping isn't just a way to isolate vital tasks from the rest. You can also use it to ensure that you remain focused on the big picture. People often get so lost in the small, day-to-day tasks that they lose track of the reason they are doing those things in the first place. To maintain focus on what's important, essentialism teaches us to always concentrate on the bigger picture. One way to do so is by keeping a journal, but instead of writing down everything you experience, force yourself to write as little as possible. This will require you to think through everything you've done and sift out only what you consider essential. As you read back through your journal entries, you will see the big picture emerge. So, look, be a journalist of your life. You've got to hone your observational skills and be a journalist of your own life. The idea from this chapter that I found to be the most helpful relates to morning journaling and the prompt of looking for the lead. As you look back on the past day, or maybe even the past week, what is the lead to that story? So in exploring the past, either the immediate past or distant past, what is the most fascinating thing about the particular chunk of time that you're looking at? Play, get your creativity flowing. Unfortunately, we adults tend to make a sharp distinction between work and play, having decided that play is something that is trivial and unproductive. It is there purely for entertainment and doesn't help us to advance our goals. In other words, it's a waste of time. The essentialist, however, recognizes that play is a vital tool for inspiration. If you want to discover what's vital in your life, you can use play to free your mind so that you can approach this subject creatively. Play can serve this purpose because it helps us to develop novel connections between ideas that we would have never otherwise considered. It is an antidote to stress, which is one of the key factors in unproductivity, and it helps us to prioritize and analyze tasks. We see the importance of play reflected in the culture of companies such as Twitter, Pixar, and Google, who promote play by doing things like offering improv comedy classes or by decorating the office with a huge dinosaur or thousands of Star Wars figurines. Why do they do this? Because they know that a playful employee is an inspired and productive one. 4. Protect the asset. Prioritize sleep. But as important as play is, it should never take priority over rest and sleep. Non-essentialists view sleep the same way they do play, as a luxury, a waste of potentially productive hours. This approach is totally backwards, as sleep increases your ability to think, connect ideas, and maximize your productivity during your waking hours. 1 hour of sleep actually results in several more hours of higher productivity the following day. In fact, studies have shown that going 24 hours without sleep or getting a weekly average of just 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night causes a cognitive impairment, equivalent to what you would have with a 0.1% blood alcohol level, enough to get your driver's license suspended. High performers like Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps knew that sleep was essential for his success. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history, attributes a lot of his success to training in the pool. However, he also attributes a lot of his success to the time he spent sleeping in his bed. Apart from his pool training, he would sleep 8 hours a night and take 2 to 3 hour nap each afternoon. 5. Select. Choose what gets your yes. You can't say yes to everything. You have to decide some way to determine what gets your yes. McKeown brings in the idea from Derek Sivers of it being either hell yeah or no. There's no in between. That hell yeah only gets a very small percentage. So if you don't have that immediate reaction, it's probably not worth doing. Part 2. Eliminate. Cutting out the non-essentials. The eliminate part teaches you to remove things that are not important. 1. Clarify. Define your essential intent. You need to clarify, deciding what is the target that you're shooting for. This brings in the idea of essential intent. Without having your essential intent defined, it makes it a whole lot harder to know what things to say yes to and which things to say no to. Imagine, for example, that your goal is to end world hunger. Although this goal is certainly inspirational, it's not at all concrete, and thus fails as your essential intent. Trying to follow an objective of this magnitude will become cumbersome due to its vagueness. Now consider this goal. Build 150 affordable, environmentally friendly, storm-resistant homes for families living in the lower 9th Ward. Not only is this goal inspirational, but it's also specific and concrete. In other words, your objective is abundantly clear. One way of checking whether your goal is clear is by asking yourself, how will I know when I've reached my goal? If you can reasonably answer this question, then you know you have clarity about what you are doing. 2. Dare. Say no gracefully. Of those two responses, yes or no, it's understandable that it's often harder to say no than it is to say yes. So what do you do once you've made a list of everything that needs to go, that is, everything that is not essential to achieve your goals? It's relatively easy to part with a shirt you never wear, but these decisions become more complicated when other people are involved. We tend to fear saying no, feeling both socially awkward as well as pressured not to disappoint the people around us, and are concerned that saying no might damage our relationships. However, oftentimes we should say no and reserve yes only for the things that really matter. To do so, you'll need to separate the decision from the relationship. The pain of saying no may cause regret for 10 minutes or so as you worry about someone else's disappointment or that you're missing out on something, but you might regret saying yes for way longer. Always remember, failing to say no to the things which aren't vital can lead you to miss out on the opportunities that truly are. As McKeown puts it, saying no often means trading popularity for respect. It's harder to say no firmly, resolutely, and gracefully, but it does take effort and practice. 3. Uncommit. Stop doing things that aren't working. Have you ever ended up doing something that you knew was a waste of effort simply because you committed to it? A lot of people fall into this sunk cost bias. The sunk cost bias is the tendency to continue investing money, time, effort, and/or energy into something we already know is unlikely to succeed. Unfortunately, every little investment makes it harder for us to let go while simultaneously increasing the amount we are sure to lose. To illustrate this, consider the spectacular failure of the Concorde jet. Although it was an astonishing engineering achievement, the cost made it unprofitable and doomed to commercial failure. Regardless, the French and British governments fell into a sunk cost bias and continued investing in it for 4 decades, fully aware that most of their money would never be recuperated. You can easily avoid this trap by developing the courage to admit your errors and mistakes and let them go. If it's clear that something isn't going to work out, then don't be afraid to cut your losses and abandon ship. 4. Edit. Cut out what's not essential. Often, we fall into the trap of thinking that all of our tasks and responsibilities are vital in one way or another. Surely you've experienced something similar when you're going through your closet during spring cleaning. You start with the mindset that, if I never wear it, it's got to go. Yet, you soon find yourself making exceptions and telling yourself things like, I know I never wear this Howling Wolf shirt, but I might want to one day. So you keep it and your closet remains as crammed as ever. So how can you avoid this trap? In short, be extreme with your criteria. The 90% rule. Start by considering the most important criterion for the decision you are making. For example, if you're cleaning the closet, that criteria might be, will I ever wear this again? Then, give it a score between 0 and 100. With the 90% rule, anything that is less than 90, even an 89, is a 0. After considering all the options, discard everything that scored less than 90. If it isn't a clear yes, then it's a clear no. A simple way to put this into action is to list the 3 minimum things that something must have in order to keep it, as well as 3 ideal criteria that you want it to meet. Then, when deciding on what to keep, something must pass the 3 minimum requirements, as well as at least 2 of the ideal ones. Thinking this way will hopefully allow you to avoid having trivial matters slip through. For example, there is absolutely no way that the Howling Wolf shirt in your closet would pass the 3 minimum requirements. 1. Is it stylish? 2. Would I wear it every day? 3. Will no one laugh at me for wearing it? Editing is where you move from being a journalist to being an editor, looking for opportunities to cut out anything that isn't essential so that there's more space and attention given to what is. 5. Limit. Set clear boundaries. Moreover, you can avoid these scenarios by setting clear boundaries. While a non-essentialist sees boundaries as unnecessary constraints, boundaries are in fact liberating on a fundamental level. Imagine, for example, a schoolyard on a busy street. At this school, children are only allowed to play in a small part of the yard next to the school buildings, and the teachers have to keep a watchful eye that the children stay within this boundary. But what if a fence was installed that clearly demarcated where the children can safely be? Then the teachers could use their time better, since they wouldn't have to be so concerned with children being near traffic, and the children could play freely within that space. Boundaries are not there to constrain you, but to make your life easier and more enjoyable. For example, you could consider setting a clear boundary between work and family. If your kids aren't allowed in the office, then work shouldn't be allowed in your home. Appropriate boundaries within your relationships are what create that sense of freedom. Part 3. Execute. Making essentialism happen. Once you know what's essential, you need to execute it. 1. Buffer. Give yourself extra time. Once you've committed to the principles of essentialism, it's time to grapple with the last step, execution. Becoming an essentialist requires you to identify what's slowing you down and then eliminate it, rather than simply finding ways to work around it. For example, imagine that you're a Boy Scout leader and need to get your troop to camp before nightfall. In order to keep things fair, each scout is carrying equal provisions in his backpack. But you've got a problem. Some of the scouts are much faster than others, and thus the group spreads out and the kids in the back risk getting left behind. Your first, non-essential solution is to make stops every so often so that the stragglers can catch up. Next, you try taking the kids from the back and putting them at the front so everyone stays together, but this just slows everyone down. Finally, you see the essentialist solution. You take some of the weight out of the slower kids' backpacks and put it in the fast kids' backpacks. By thinking with the principles of essentialism, you've eliminated the problem. In addition, you can prevent unnecessary obstacles by being prepared. One of our biggest mistakes is assuming that our plans will go as expected. An essentialist, however, does not think this way. Instead, he assumes that things might go wrong, and thus makes the right preparations. Whatever you do, whether it's taking your kids to school or delivering a presentation at work, always give yourself a buffer of 50% of the time you expect it to take. This way, you can always leave room to correct anything that ends up slowing you down. This buffer helps you execute your ideas more effectively so that your efforts fall more within that D range compared to the A range. Because without the appropriate time buffers or financial buffers, there's the risk that the quality of your effort will decline. 2. Subtract. Remove obstacles. To execute on an idea effectively, you also must subtract. You've got to take a close look at the steps underlying your creative process and remove the obstacles that make those steps more difficult, so that instead of having this feeling of trudging up a stairway, maybe it can feel more like walking down one. Think about what the obstacles are in your process that you might be able to remove. 3. Progress. Focus on small wins. If you've ever achieved something in one fell swoop, then you experienced luck firsthand. Most of the time, it won't work out that way. In reality, creating success is all about building upon your previous progress with small, incremental steps. Small wins create momentum, which gives you the confidence to further succeed. Moreover, they allow you to stay on track by giving you the opportunity to check whether you are heading in the right direction. While it might be frustrating to take small steps, remember that the consequences of even small steps can be far-reaching. Take the police department in Richmond, Canada, for example. For years, they tried to lower the rate of recidivism by using sweeping measures, such as more stringent laws and stronger punishments, with poor results. Then they decided to totally reshape their reforms by taking small steps towards crime prevention. When police saw young people doing something good, like putting their trash in bins instead of throwing it on the street, they gave them a small reward, such as free tickets to movies and youth events. These measures helped keep the young people off the streets, and after a decade of this policy, the rate of recidivism dropped from 60 to only 8%. There's an emphasis on progress, and focusing specifically not on huge leaps of progress, but instead on building for yourself a system of small wins, steps that you can take each day that allow you to start small and build momentum over time. The small, concrete win creates momentum and affirms our faith in our further success. 4. Flow. Build routines. No matter what your approach, you'll need to ensure that you stick with it by designing a routine. Routines create a habit, thus making difficult things become easier over time. It's therefore prudent to create a routine that aligns with your goals. For example, Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps's coach got him to follow a routine during his training. Every time Phelps went to bed, and as soon as he woke up in the morning, he had to visualize a slow-motion video of what he imagined to be the perfect race. Phelps then tried to replicate this video during training. Sure enough, he did this for so long that, when the Olympics came, his habits took over and swam the perfect race again and again, winning him a number of medals. Routines are one of the most powerful tools to help us prioritize the essential. Without a good routine, the non-essentials will constantly distract us. When we have a routine, we free up brain space. It allows us to concentrate on the most important essential things. Most creative individuals find out early what their best rhythms are for sleeping, eating, and working, and this allows intense concentration on matters that count. 5. Focus. What's important now? As you're focused on the progress of small wins and looking for that state of flow, what will help is a regular state of focus, of focused attention, focused energy, and to always be winning, asking the question, what's important now? This means not dwelling on something that happened in the past or stressing about something that might happen in the future, but putting quality attention to the present and choosing to act on the thing that is most important right now. Recap key takeaways. Here are the main lessons from Essentialism. Do less, but better. Focus your energy on a few truly important things. Say no often. Value your yes. And don't be afraid to decline non-essential requests. Create space to think. Take time alone to clarify your priorities and see the big picture. Prioritize sleep and play. These are vital for creativity, productivity, and overall well-being. Be clear about your goals. Define your essential intent to guide your decisions. Set boundaries. They provide freedom and healthier relationships. Cut your losses. Don't keep investing in things that are clearly not working. Build routines and celebrate small wins. These create momentum and make essential tasks easier over time. Always ask, what's important now? Focus your energy on the most vital task in the present moment. Quiz time. Now, let's see how much you remember. Answer these questions in the comments below. Question 1. According to Essentialism, what is the main idea about doing tasks? Question 2. What is one important way to explore what is essential? Question 3. Why is play considered a vital tool in Essentialism? Question 4. What is the 90% rule used for when deciding what to keep or do? Question 5. What does the acronym WIN stand for in the context of Essentialism? Conclusion. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Essentialism. I hope these ideas inspire you to simplify your life, focus on what truly matters, and achieve your goals. Remember, learning English is an essential step towards personal growth and building a better life. Books like this are powerful tools to help you do both. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.